We have our 4 inequalities. Let's start with greater than. There are 2 different ways to write each inequality. I could write it with my x on the left side, x is greater than 3, or I could write it when my x is on the right side. When I do that, that means my inequality symbol will flip and I will still read it as x is greater than 3. You read inequality starting with your variable. Notice how in both examples, my x is on the open side or the big side of the inequality. Whenever I'm graphing the inequality, I'm going to start with that number. In this case, x is greater than 3, so I start with the number 3. It will be an open circle. Since x is on the big side or the open side, the arrow will point to the right. Open circle means that 3 is not a part of my solution. X could be any number that is greater than 3. Now let's go to the next inequality, greater than or equal to. Once again, I could write this 2 different ways. I could write it with my variable on the left side of the inequality, or I could write it with my variable on the right side of the inequality. Whenever you read inequalities, once again, I'm going to read it starting with my variable. So this reads as x is greater than or equal to 3. I know x is greater than because x is on the open side or the big side of my inequality. When I'm graphing it, I'm going to start with the number 3. It will be a closed circle, because now that 3 is included or is part of my solution. X can be greater than or it can be equal to the 3. And since x is greater than, the arrow will point to the right. Any number that's equal to or greater than 3. Next we have less than. Once again, there's 2 different ways to write this. With my x on the left side, I write x is less than 3, or I could write it with my variable on the right side. That also reads x is less than 3. I know x is less than because now my x is on the pointed side or the small side of the inequality. When I'm graphing, I'm going to start once again with the number 3. There's not a line underneath, so x cannot be equal to 3, so that means my circle will be open. Since x is on the small side, now my arrow will point to the left. X is any number that is less than 3. 3 is not a part of my solution. For my last inequality, I have less than or equal to. I can write it with my variable on the left side, x is less than or equal to 3, or I can write it with my variable on the right side, x is less than or equal to 3. Notice in both examples, my variable is on the small side and I want to start reading from my variable. When I create my number line, I'm going to start with the number 3. Since x can be equal to the number 3, that means now 3 is part of my solution, so I would have a closed circle at the number 3. And because x is less than, or x is on my small side, my arrow will point to the left. This is how you write and how you graph inequality.